What if democracy isn't as democratic as you think? Welcome to Super Earth from the Helldivers franchise. Now, when we think of democracy, we think of a system where the people have power. They vote, they decide, they shape their society. From the local council to the president's office, the power is in the hands of the people. But what if things aren't as straightforward as they seem? What if the power of the people is managed, controlled, or even manipulated? Welcome to the concept of a managed democracy, a term that Super Earth proudly wears. But what does it mean? Does it imply that the democracy is guided, helped along its path? Or does it suggest something more sinister? A puppet show where the strings are pulled behind the scenes? Super Earth in the Helldivers universe portrays itself as a beacon of freedom, a shining example of democracy. But is it? Or is it a wolf in sheep's clothing? A regime masquerading as a democracy while controlling every aspect of its citizens' lives? Military service and weaponry form the backbone of society on Super Earth. The propaganda machine works tirelessly to promote notions of liberty and democracy, but how much of it is real? How much choice do the citizens really have when their lives are dominated by a constant war effort? The games don't give us a full picture of Super Earth's government. What we see is a society that seems to value nationalism and militarism over individual freedoms. Is there more to it than that? Or is the truth hidden behind a wall of propaganda? The question of freedom is a tricky one on Super Earth. The emphasis on serving the collective good suggests a society where individuality is not just discouraged, but actively suppressed. Is this the price of maintaining a society at constant war? Or is it a convenient excuse to control the populace? Super Earth claims to be a democracy, but is it really? Is it a society where the people have a voice? Or is it a place where the illusion of choice masks a tightly controlled regime? These are questions we'll continue to explore as we delve deeper into the world of Super Earth. In our world, the military serves the government. But in Super Earth, it appears the government serves the military. How's that for a role reversal? Super Earth is a society that revolves around its military, a contrast to the typical democratic model, where the military is just one part of the governmental machine. Here, the military isn't just a significant part of the structure, it is the axle upon which the entire society spins. It's not just about defense or international relations. The military is the very lifeblood of Super Earth, shaping its society, its culture, and even its identity. You see, in Super Earth, military service isn't just a job, it's a duty, a rite of passage. It's a societal expectation that's been ingrained into the very fabric of its culture. There's a sense of pride, a sense of belonging that comes with donning the uniform. It's as if every citizen is a cog in a grand machine, and that machine is the military. But what about the propaganda, you ask? Yes, liberty and democracy, the two cornerstones of any free society, right? Well, at least that's what the billboards and broadcasts would have you believe. But when you peel back the layers, questions start to arise. Is it really liberty when your path is laid out for you from birth? Is it really democracy when your choices are influenced or even dictated by the state? It's a world where liberty and democracy are more than just words, they're ideals, they're goals. But the reality, that's a different story. In Super Earth, the military is more than just a defense force. It's a way of life, a societal pillar. A defining characteristic is the beating heart of a society that values unity and strength above all else. But at what cost? At the cost of individuality? At the cost of freedom of choice? Is a world where liberty and democracy are words, but do they have the same meaning as we understand them? Super Earth's government remains a mystery, but what we do know raises more questions than it answers. Delving into the enigma that is Super Earth, we find ourselves navigating a labyrinth of possibilities. There's a conspicuous lack of detail about the inner workings of this planet's government. However, this absence of information may be more telling than it first appears. The games, our primary sources of insight into Super Earth, are sparing with specifics. They hint at a system operating under the guise of democracy, yet the true nature of this regime remains shrouded in ambiguity. Is it possible, we wonder, that there's more beneath the surface than meets the eye? The emphasis of Super Earth's society is unmistakably nationalistic and militaristic. A constant war effort, the prominence of military service, and the pervasive propaganda all underscore a stark focus on national pride. These characteristics, while evoking a sense of unity and shared purpose, also suggest a society where personal freedoms could be at stake. Individuality, the cornerstone of most democracies, seems to take a backseat in favor of serving the collective good of Super Earth. But what does this collective good truly represent? Is it the will of the people, or the will of a controlling government operating behind the scenes? The term managed democracy that Super Earth claims to be could be a euphemism for a society where voting exists but is heavily influenced or controlled. The facade of choice may be just that, an illusion designed to maintain the appearance of democracy while concealing a more autocratic reality. From our vantage point, the picture of Super Earth remains incomplete and clouded in uncertainty. We're left with a planet that seems to champion liberty and democracy on the surface, but maybe a far cry from these ideals in practice. With so much unknown, Super Earth presents a puzzle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. Freedom is a cornerstone of democracy, but in Super Earth, it seems to have a different meaning. In this world, freedom isn't about personal liberties or the ability to express oneself without fear. Instead, it's about serving the collective good. And more often than not, that service comes in the form of military duty. The constant state of war in Super Earth isn't just a political strategy, it's a societal norm. Every citizen is expected to contribute to the war effort. And this compulsory military service is presented as a noble act of patriotism, not a restriction on personal freedom. It's a clever way of framing it, isn't it? You're not being forced to fight. You're choosing to fight for your planet, your people, your freedom. But let's pause for a moment and consider this. If everyone is expected to serve in the military, what happens to individuality? What happens to personal aspirations, dreams, and talents that don't align with this militaristic ideal? In Super Earth, it seems these are secondary to the collective cause. The emphasis on serving the collective good is so strong that it appears to overshadow individual freedoms. It's a society where personal desires and ambitions are not just discouraged. They're seen as a distraction from the greater goal of defending Super Earth. It's a society where you're not an individual. You're a cog in the grand machine of war. This isn't to say that the people of Super Earth are oppressed or unhappy. Perhaps they find fulfillment in their service, in the knowledge that they're contributing to something bigger than themselves. But it does raise the question, is this truly freedom? Or is it control, cleverly disguised as patriotism and collective responsibility? In Super Earth, serving the collective good seems to be the highest form of freedom. But is this freedom or control? So, is Super Earth a democracy or an autocracy in disguise? This is the question we've been circling, the enigma we've been trying to unravel. Super Earth, with its tall claims of being a managed democracy, paints a picture of freedom and choice. Yet the brushstrokes of this portrait reveal a different story. When we dig deeper, we find a society that seems to be heavily controlled and influenced. The elements of voting exist, yes, but how free are these votes? Are they not manipulated, swayed to reflect the desires of unseen puppet masters? Then, we have the significant role of the military, the constant war effort, the emphasis on weaponry, the call to arms. These are not typically the hallmarks of a free society. Propaganda might shout liberty and democracy, but the whispers tell tales of a society tied down by its military might. And what about the unknowns? The games don't give us a clear picture of the inner workings of Super Earth's government. All we see is a nationalistic, militaristic state. But what lies beneath? Could there be more to this society than what meets the eye? The question of freedom versus control is a pressing one. Super Earth seems to discourage individuality in favor of serving the collective good. Personal freedoms appear to be limited, perhaps even suppressed. Is this the price citizens pay for security, for the illusion of democracy? In the end, the term democracy seems to be a veneer, a facade. Beneath it lies a society that's likely controlled by a government that heavily emphasizes military service and national pride. The promise of democracy is there, but it's clouded by the shadow of autocracy. Super Earth may be a managed democracy, but the question remains, who is managing whom? We may not have all the answers, but one thing is clear. Super Earth is a world where the lines between democracy and autocracy are blurred, where freedom and control dance a delicate, dangerous waltz.